Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It is 1:30. My name is Ciji Thurman. I am a teacher at Rineyville Elementary School, second grade this year. If you have not signed in yet, I have put the link in the comment box. So please press there. Make sure you sign in sometime during this session. This is the 1:30 to 2:30 session. We're going to talk about communicating through Google Classrooms, Forms, a few other different platforms as well. I'm going to wait just one moment, make sure that I am recording here, and then I'll be sharing my screen with you all. Okay, you all. Hopefully, you will be able to see my screen. It's opening the lines of communication. I do have a bit.ly there. I will go ahead and put that bit.ly address in the comment box if you would like to follow along with me. If not, of course, you will see it on the screen as we move along. And this session will explore how we'll be using those student reflections as a jumping point for some lessons, as a conversation starter, pre-assessments, next steps, just all around using student self-reflection. I'm really big on reflection and I require it of my students as well. So that's why I chose this one right here. I know this may serve as a refresher for some of you all, and if you have anything to add, don't be afraid to jump in there, unmute your mic, or leave something in the comment box as well. Doesn't matter to me either way, but let's get started. The platform that I use to facilitate this action is Google Classrooms, Google Forms, and Google Meet. I know those are three things that many of us are familiar with. I know we use them for a lot of different things, but as I said, I'm really big on the whole reflection piece. So why is this necessary? Students need to take stake in their learning. If we take the time to not only encourage students to reflect on their work independently, but have them share their reflections with us, we can best guide our instruction and meet the needs of all students. Um, this is a great way for you to maybe even place students in small groups. I know that'll look different this year with everything's going on, but differentiating as well, it also helps out that way as well. And I'll speak to you all a little bit more on how I do that in my classroom. The first thing is the what? The student reflection. Oh, it looks like I just got a message. Some of you all are gaining access. I'll go ahead and open this up for everyone. Um, the student reflection piece, and right here, I just took a screenshot of what my at the end of the school year, my Google Classroom looks like. Some of the, well, not necessarily the end of the school year, but almost the end of the school year, what it kind of looked like. And if we zoom in, oops, if we zoom in on that screenshot, we'll be able to see that I have a Google Meet there that we did. I have my assistant that was also helping with me. She placed some things there, and I also did shout outs weekly. And the way I gain those shout outs is once again through those reflection pieces and the work that the students have done. I also use Google Meet to share those self reflections. We would get on, of course, with student permission. I know some are more open to sharing their reflections than others. So I do make sure that I ask first, even on those Google Forms. We'll do a Google Meet, sharing reflections, how everyone felt about a lesson. What are some things we can change? If they were in charge of presenting the lesson, what are some things they would do? And that Google Meet also gives me the opportunity to allow students to actually take on the role of teacher as well. And then my third platform of using reflections is the Google Forms. And of course, I know I'm going through this fairly quickly, but I will talk about each one momentarily. Student self reflection using it. I use a Google form. It's very simple for me to use, and plus, it collects that data immediately for me. So I can go in and group students on things that they have in common, things that they may have felt different about, things that they would like to change, things like that. Also allows me to create breakout groups. I know with the way the school year is going, we'll also have that online academy. So, breakout groups is another great way for kids that even though they're not face to face or right in front of each other, they still have the opportunity to collaborate and work with each other. So, using the Google Forms is another way that I can group my students into breakout groups during our Google Meet, which is found through our Google Classroom. As you can see, all three of these kind of wrap in there together and allows them to work together as well. Okay, so this is where I go into my what and how I explain everything that I just rattled off there. Um, the student self reflection. For those of you all that may have been in my classroom this year or may have followed me like on our classroom Instagram or Twitter or what have you, I've even sent out emails to some. If you all remember, the district talked about making sure that the students will be able to answer these four questions. What am I learning? How will I know when I am successful? Where am I in my learning? And what do I do when I get stuck? So when Stacy Bronner came to our school and we talked about all of this, I took all of that and I made small individual cards for my students that go in the pockets on the top right hand side of their desk. So when we get done with a lesson, we stop and we think, where are we at in Miss Thurman's pit of learning? And that's what you're seeing here. It says pit of learning. And they each have their own peg and they take their peg. Of course, this was before COVID. So it'll look a little different this year, and I'll explain that in a moment. They'll take their peg, and on my back bulletin board, there was actually a pit that I had drawn, and they would take their peg and they'll move it to where they're at. Are they confused? Like it's still new, they don't understand, so they're kind of like in that red zone. Are they like, you know what, this is too hard for me, but I'm not confused. I just think right now it's too hard for me to complete on my own. Are they in that yellow zone where they're like, I don't have it completely yet, but I'm slowly getting there. I'm to that almost point. Then they move into a blue zone. That is, I'm almost there. I don't have it 100%, but I'm pretty close. I'm almost there. Then this year I've colored it purple, but it'll be the purple area, and it's I understand, but I am not confident enough to teach someone else. And then finally to be in that green zone, it's I am confident, I understand, I can teach someone else. So by going through and just reflecting on that, there's not a written piece that they have to do with that. Um, it is all just internally, them thinking, where am I at in my learning? Now, having that pit on the back of my classroom on that bulletin board allowed me to easily look up and see where each of my students are at. And it also allowed them to see where they were at as well. My students, of course, it takes a lot of practice. My students, of course, were quite honest about it. It also helped me with my grouping. Now, this year, because our school year will look different, um, hold on 1 second. Since our school year will look different, they will have this ask yourself still on the top right hand corner of their desk. And at the top left hand corner, they'll have this card, the Pit of Learning card. And it's going to be more of a let's self reflect, let's point, see where we're at, and then I document as I observe the class. For the first quarter, at least, we are going to be doing it that way at our seats at first. It also allows the kids to get used to self reflection. So that's a quick and easy way to self reflect just at the student's desk. Another way that also works for our blended learning or online academy and in the classroom is going back to that Google Forms. In Google Forms, mine simply says pit of learning and it asks, where are you at in your learning? And remember to be honest. I don't always necessarily collect the email addresses for them, but I do have them do a um, name block. So they type in their name. And then those In that pit of learning, those six different spots where they are at, that is actually listed on their Google form. So they'll just check in that box. And then that's another way just for me to collect the data. At the end of the lesson or at the end of the day, I can go back in and I can collect that data. Um, a lot of times too, this right here is just my first one for the first school year, for the first of the school year, of course. So it's not complete yet because I haven't filled in my target and success criteria. Like I said, when Bronner came to the school, I made sure that since I know the why, I know all of us like to know the why behind things. Um, Teaching my kids why we have those targets, why we have that success criteria. And once I explicitly taught them that, it made these questions and where they're at in Miss Thurman's pit of learning, it made it a whole lot more clear for them. So that's another way for self reflection. I'm just going to slow down here for one moment. All right, make sure just checking, making sure I don't have any questions yet. Okay, so that was one way. And once again, it does help me for individuals and small group settings or even my next steps. Like I said, I know we have the online academy, things like that. And throughout the day, I've seen a lot of really neat things, especially great ways to differentiate using a lot of our online resources. So this would be another way that you can go in and say, okay, I know this student is still not confident with maybe this math skill or this reading skill. Maybe I can kind of get with them and kind of help them out with that. So that's been very helpful with me. Um, of course, this year, at the beginning of the year, I will be um, using the forms even more. Last school year, this past school year, at least, I would do it. We would do the pit of learning on Google Forms about once or twice a week because I did have the board. This year, with social distancing, we will be using it more often. Um, I'm thinking that we're going to use it once a day at the towards the end of our day or midway through our day, so I can make sure I'm continuously collecting that data and students are continuously reflecting. So how? I know I've had questions before about the how I make the cards or where I get them from. I am going to be honest with you all. I am not a big teachers pay teachers fan. I feel like that I can make it my own and it'll look just the way I like it. So some have asked me, how do I get them, make sure that they're the right shape and all this other good stuff. So what I do is that I use a Google slide to create my own cards. And I'm going to show you all that here in one moment. But I'm going to show you what my cards look like. This right here is a screenshot of my Ask Yourself cards and then my pit of learning cards. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to click on that, my Google Slides presentation. And if I want to make sure that I have like six on one page, I do it one of two ways. One way I do it is that I just make one very large card. And I like boxes because I laminate just about anything that the kids put in their hands because it lasts a lot longer. I'm going to do this roughly though, so you all can see how I do it. Most of us may already do it this way. And so I go ahead, I make that box there, and I go ahead and type in. I love using the word art because I can change what it looks like, and I can make it as big, as small, or what have you. And then once I get everything written in, I just simply duplicate this slide 6 times. And then when I go to print it, I'll print. Oops, I want to print it all. And under my more settings, and I know depending on what type of printer you have, it may be under another tab because my one at home works a little differently than my one at school. But I'll just say that I want six on each page and it'll actually space them out evenly. You make sure all your boxes are the same size. You don't have to worry about the measurement of anything at all. And it's all there. I can print those out on cardstock, laminate, cut, and all the kids have their own cards within the pockets and they last a really long time. This past school year, I made them. They're in the pockets and they're in awesome condition. But with everything that's going on, COVID and everything, I did create new ones, new, fresh ones that are sanitized, all that good stuff. Another way to do it is I change my settings on the Google Sheets. I go to page setup and I change my setup to custom and I change it to 8.5 by 11 inches. Apply it that way. My it'll flip my slide. And then I go in, I make one box about as big as I think I want it. I'll make one box, put in any writing that I want, go back over it, highlight it all, copy it, and paste it 6 times. I have the same exact thing and I only have to do it once. I do this sort of thing with like site work cards and high frequency cards, excuse me, simply because I know I'm going to go in, double tap that word art and change the word in the center of it. So that's how I make all of my card resources and things like that. And it also is very helpful with my reflections. So that's how I make those. And I do the same thing with the pit of learning. I do it the same exact way. Make them, print them, laminate, cut. I do use cardstock for ones that aren't in paper and regular, like the Astro Brights for paper. I like color. I'm also elementary, so it's easier to tell the students, look at the yellow slip, look at the pink slip, things like that, and let's get reflecting. Now with the Pit of Learning Google form, what I do is that I create a short reflection, no more than 2 or 3 questions, but I always have that question of where are you at in your learning. This serves as my exit ticket and my reflection. I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So I won't get into too much detail. I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence here because I know many of us do use Google Forms. But if you have any questions about how I set up my Google Forms, please don't hesitate to contact me. I am here for that as well. So I told myself I won't take more than 15 to 20 minutes, and it's been about 17 minutes. So I'm going to share a few more things with you all before I want you all to maybe play around, see if there's anything that you can use or ask me any questions. I also do reflection notebooks, things like that, because I know everyone does not have technology or one-to-one in their classroom all day long. So if you have any questions about that, I am here for that as well. But because this is on reflection, I figure let's take some time and let's discuss too. If you don't have any like immediate questions or how to's, like I said, this is a refresher for many of us. Let's just see if there's any discussions that you may want to have. Do you see yourself using this method of reflections? How can you use it for other things? Would you change it? How? Or do you have anything else that may be helpful to the rest of us in the group as well? I am always up for suggestions if anyone has any. So I'm going to stop talking for now. I've been talking for about 20 minutes or so. I'm going to stop talking for now so you all can just kind of play around, see how you would use this, how you put in your Google Classrooms and such. I am here for questions, comments, concerns, anything at all that you may have. Yeah, Courtney, I know I think it was you that I talked to before. I have made individual things for just about anything with social distancing. I'm trying to keep them as social distancing as possible. Anchor charts, the everything I've tried to make so that the students don't have to move around as much and be in contact with as much. Next week, I'm going to start working on, in between PDs, I'm going to start working on how to revamp my small group so that I can still do small group, but still have them social distance. I don't know. I have some ideas. I'll figure it out though. Um, oh, yeah, Regina, I'll repost that link now for you. Yeah, I've been forgetting to fill out that form and been having to do it at the last minute. So, absolutely. Oh, Screencastify is a great idea. I used that during NTI. I totally didn't think about using it for small group. Thank you so much. I will definitely write that down so I can start doing Screencastify videos as well. Also, if you all wanted my cards or anything, just let me know, shoot me an email, and I'll make sure that I'll give you like my Pit Learning cards and their at desk reflection pieces. I don't have a problem with that at all. Sharing is caring. So if you wanted those cards, please let me know. If not, no worries. One more thing I almost forgot is I know many of us are on different platforms of social media as well. So just going to plug a little bit. There are many out there doing a lot on reflection, especially with this upcoming school year coming along. So I would definitely suggest connecting with them, even if it's like shooting the messages and things like that. Even if you don't know them, a lot of them are really, really helpful in that form. Um, oh, Cynthia, have I ever had students upload photos with their daily reflections? I have before using Flipgrid. I have used Flipgrid before having them upload their daily reflections, and it kind of stays within us. I haven't had them do it in terms of Google Classrooms. Um, but I mean, I'm sure that would be awesome, especially being an art teacher. I think that right there would be really great to see their progress in pictures, but I personally have not done it that way. Like I said the year before last, I used to do Flipgrid and have them upload either video reflection, picture reflections, things like that. Oh, yes, Cynthia, I know sometimes the Wi-Fi is very hit or miss, at least in our building some days. Some days I have it, some days I don't. Sometimes it moves slow, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, definitely have to be trial and error. Though I think it would be really neat to be able to do that. Like I said, especially with you being art, I think it'd be really neat. Probably something I'm going to give a try this school year too. I always like trying new things. We'll find out if it works or not. Oh, yes, Monica, that is awesome. To submit some of my students' work, I know a lot of my parents, they just went through the Remind app, which worked out well as well. But yeah, absolutely, just having them upload things, um, pictures that way as well for NTI. Hopefully, we don't have a small NTI session at all. Knock on wood, fingers crossed. But definitely something to remember as we go into the new school year. Oh, yes, Regina Class Dojo, and I know the kids always love those little creatures or monsters that are there as well. Class Dojo is a good one. Um, a few years back, I also did Class Gamify with the older kids. It was like and I let them help me set it up, and they did like this fighting sort of game thing where when you get so many points, you battle each other. So that was a lot like Class Dojo on a little bit more of a mature level. Still elementary, but it didn't have like the monsters. They were actually like real kind of avatars. So I do like the Class Dojos and the Class Gamifying features as well. Those are really great for online. And plus, some of those things I know sometimes you can use um, some of some of the content from home as well. I know with gamifying, they can use some of the stuff at home, some of the points, changing characters, things like that. Oh, Brandy, that is something.